have to understand, and we've talked about this before, that most Americans on any given day are the victim of three things. First of all, they only know what the mainstream tells them, unless they listen to you or a few other people who are referred to, as you know, as alternative media. So they're not going to get the truth about anything. Secondly, they have been subjected to an unrelenting stream of invective and criticism and hatred directed at anyone Israel doesn't like, whether it's Iran or Hezbollah or anybody else. And people don't have a positive picture of Muslim Arabs, Muslim Iranians, and so forth. And then finally, I think there's the other problem is that most Americans don't pay much attention. Look how long it took us to finally extricate ourselves from Vietnam, how long it took public opinion to swing away from that catastrophe. I just don't see animated people in the United States. They're saying this is a terrible mistake. You know, we're cultivating hostility all over the world. The entire world is turning against us. And I would say that if we go to war with Iran, that is absolutely what's going to happen. It's not just a question of Israel's survival. Our position in the world will be damaged for decades. Let's not forget that when Norman Podhoretz was supposedly John McCain's national security advisor, whatever that means, he said that he woke up every morning and prayed that war between the United States and Iran had broken out the night before, so that he was always praying for a war with Iran. This has been a fixation of the Israel lobby, its supporters, the Jewish diaspora, as well as the Israeli state for a very long time. And this is their best shot at achieving it. Now, why do I say it's the best shot? You're asking, is there a possibility that someone with some sense of reason or rationality could intervene in this and say no more? I suppose there's always that possibility, but let's look at the facts. From the Israeli standpoint, you either destroy Iran or you are going to be forced into some sort of agreement by the international community that is unacceptable to you. And that includes the possibility of a Palestinian state. That's not on the table for the Israeli state. They want nothing to do with it. They want to continue their cleansing operation and remove all of the Palestinian Arabs from Israeli soil. So that's off the table. So that means there has to be a war. Will there be a war? Well, we have several hundred vessels, 3 carrier battle groups, submarines. We have over 1,000 fighters, bombers located in different places from Diego Garcia all the way to Italy and probably beyond. We also have bombers in the United States. All of them are loaded, prepared, and ready to launch. When you have that kind of military power sitting there, it doesn't take much to start a war. On top of that, you have the Iranians and their supporters, their surrogates, the Iraqi militias, Hezbollah, the Houthis, and others are all arming to the teeth, and they're waiting for the attack to come that tells them to launch. And the only person that's been in the region that has made a case, not just to Iran, but to Saudi Arabia, to the Turks, to everyone, to exercise patience, to restrain themselves and wait, has been Vladimir Putin. And he went there and he said, wait, exercise patience. You will outlast the Israelis. And I think there's something to be said for that, because the situation in Israel grows worse with each passing day. Their economy is very much dependent on the largesse of the American people. And that's not a good position for any state to be in. They've had at least 500,000, some people say as many as 800,000 or a million Israelis leave the country. The country itself is in turmoil. As you know, they've got almost anarchy on some occasions because people want an end to the Netanyahu leadership. I don't know that they want an end to everything, but certainly him. So I would say that right now, you're going to get a war. That's going to happen unless we're the decisive actor in this equation, step forward and say no. And again, this has always been what we've argued, that historically every president until Biden has always stepped forward and urged restraint or directly told the leadership of Israel to stop this far and no further. There's no danger of that happening now. So the armed forces of the United States, its air and naval power, its intelligence services, its space-based surveillance, these things are at the disposal of Mr. Netanyahu, and he would like to use them. but he's trying to figure out how to provoke the Iranians into doing it on the assumption that everyone will believe that it was an unprovoked attack, the sort of same nonsense that we continue to preach about the Russian unprovoked attack, when everybody with a brain knows that we've been provoking the Russians for years. We finally got what we wanted. At least we think we do. As long as we provide the support we do, I think it could go on for some time. But of course, the Israeli people themselves do have a voice, and you're beginning to hear it. Now, what precisely do they want beyond Mr. Netanyahu's removal? What are they prepared to accept, or what will they reject? That I don't know. And I think that's what keeps Mr. Netanyahu in power, because he reasons, not unreasonably, that the Israelis don't want a Palestinian state, which they see as inevitably becoming an organized crime state on their border that would, continue to cause them innumerable miseries. And so as long as that's the case, seems very unlikely that you're going to get a profound change, because anyone who steps into Mr. Netanyahu's shoes is going to have to make hard choices. And the hardest, of course, is, do you end the conflict? And if you end it completely, where does that leave you? And if you end it, what happens to the United States? Do the Americans say, all right, we gave you everything, we did everything, you fell apart, we're out of here? All of those things must be on the minds of Israelis. It's not an easy situation. But to get back to your question about Iran, remember, Iran has a population of roughly 79 million? Iran is going to survive the war. It doesn't make any difference what the Israelis try to do. They know that. Iran now has enormous assistance and support from Russia and increasingly China and other countries. And if you look at the BRICS, which started out as Brazil, Russia, India, China, and Saudi Arabia, now you're talking about perhaps as many as 90 or 100 members eventually joining that particular union, which has strategic implications, even though it's largely economic, and they're looking at alternative monetary systems, alternatives to the system we have built and that we abused in our efforts to bully people in the direction that we wanted them to go. They are now in a position to walk away from us completely. I think we've already seen that with Saudi Arabia. I think we're going to see more of it. So the cost to us of supporting Israel is high, but if it goes to war with Iran, the cost could really be devastating to us. The year anniversary, 7 October, and this thing has dragged on for a year without resolution. None of the original objectives have been achieved. The populations, the Arab populations, have been brutalized, but they're still where they are. They haven't left. Every country in the region has turned against Israel. And every country in the region, even though it may not be able to engage directly, certainly will support whatever Turkey, Iran, Hezbollah, others do in the region now against Israel. The question is what are we going to do? And as we approach 7 October, I think there's going to be a lot of pressure to get this war going against Iran.
Light a candle for peace, light a candle for love, light a candle that shines all the way around the world.